How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. Did you see that email, the subject line that I sent?
I did. Yeah. Is that me?
Well, I didn't know. So I worked for a radio station in Tampa back in the day, and we used to hook Bugsy up with tickets all the time. And I feel like there was a concert. We had a big festival in 2011,
Yeah.
and
In St. Pete.
yeah, in St. Pete. And
Yeah, I was there.
yeah, I feel like it was you and Bugsy, and you guys went up on stage, and we had like these seats on stage for winners. They were like
Uh,
Bud Light or Miller Light or something like that. And all of a sudden, they're like, there's somebody who was on the intercom, and they're like, there's two guys that are sitting in the winner's seats. Somebody needs to come get their hockey friends, and we're like, oh god, this doesn't sound like this is good at all.
yeah.
You guys didn't seem phased one bit, though.
No, we didn't. We were having. I was a lockout, so we were having a lot of cocktails that day. I had a buddy in that played in Colorado, Kyle Quincy. So we were just hanging and drinking. You guys got us those passes. It was great. We were kind of in the artist tent, like having beers and eating next to them. And I remember Monsters and Men were there. That was right when they kind of came on the map. Then it was your guys' fault. You gave us backstage passes, so we acted like we owned the place. But yeah, they were like, "Oh, you guys can't be here." We said, "No problem. We'll keep it moving."
There are just these two perfect seats right on stage. And I know I just went up as Bush was about to play, and I was like, wow, these seats are awesome. I would love to sit here. And then I saw you guys getting escorted off the stage, but you guys were not phased whatsoever. Another legend, Teddy Purcell, around town. Another thing I was at, a private Kid Rock concert that was in Clearwater. I feel
Mhm.
like you, Bugsy, maybe Nate Thompson was there.
Yeah, I don't think Nate was, but Bugsy was part of that. There was like a charity foundation, or a couple of times a year, they used to bring these pretty big stars in and do this like private event. So we donated the one year we went to Kid Rock, and Bugsy. It's a long story, funny one, but we took a limo there, acting like we were, rock stars too. Uh, Go to the show. Kid Rock put on maybe the best live performance I've ever seen. He was DJing. He was standing on the piano. He was singing. Obviously, he's playing all these instruments.
Had you seen him
Um,
before?
I've never. I always heard he was a great entertainer. He certainly didn't disappoint that night either. And then after we went backstage for beers with those guys, and we ended up taking out his guitarist back to the rack when it was opened years ago, and he came in the limo with us, and we were babysitting him. I was like, no way we outdrink a rock star, but we tucked him in that night. He,
Did
probably, he
you?
was probably he was probably doing more stuff than the beers we were having, but I didn't ask any questions.
All right, now I agree. That was an incredible performance, and Kid Rock is awesome live. I was there with a few of my friends, and I looked over at one point, and I saw you and a few of your buddies with the Lightning, and then I feel like right behind you was like Hulk Hogan. Do you remember that? Was Hulk?
Yeah, Hulk Hogan was there, and his daughter and his buddy. Who's the guy he always runs around with? I can't remember his name. But me and Bugsy ended up picking up one of them and getting a picture with them. It was fun. We were like, what the hell's going on here? How does this mix make sense? But it was a pretty fun night.
Dude, you were all over town when you were in Tampa Bay. Or anywhere else that you got kicked out of, or anything cool that you got to experience while you had your few years here, or only the things I saw you at?
I think they think you might have been private investigator. Maybe that's why Yzerman traded for me, is you had eyes on me all over town. But no, I loved playing there. I still have my place there. I leased it out now. I had a lot of good years there on and off the ice, and I just think the community embraced us so much and treated us so well, and getting to meet people like you and getting us what we thought was two seats right next to the lead singer, even though they weren't ours. But we always got to do fun stuff like that, whether it was at, concerts or shows, or we were close with a bunch of the Rays guys. So we got to do some batting practice and fun stuff like that. Looking back now, I don't think we realized how lucky we had it, and but we definitely took advantage of the fun and all the stuff we got to do.
Did you just feel like, hey, you know what? I'm in my 20s and I only get this one shot at it, and I'm going to live it up? Or like you said, you didn't know how good you had it, and just kind of came along with where you guys were at the time, which was, higher profile athletes in Tampa Bay.
I think it's a combination of both. For a guy like myself, I wasn't drafted and I always never thought I could play in the NHL. And then when you get there, you don't want to take it for granted because it can be over in the blink of an eye. But I was surrounded by good teammates on and off the ice. Like you said, we were young and getting overpaid, so we thought it was cool to drive the douchey sports cars and thought we were extra cool. Looking back now, I was like, what a dork. But no, we had a lot of fun, and it's a great place to play. The guys that get to play there a long time are really lucky, and I think they know that.
Dude, and I was going through your Instagram, and I did a lot of stalking, but I saw in 2017, I'm very jealous. Did you meet Larry David?
I did. It was at one of my good buddies out here, Jared Stoll, who played in the league for a long time. They got married in Montana a couple of summers ago, and it was probably only like 40 or 50 people. But one of Erin's friends that she works with, she brought Larry David as her date. And so one of my other buddies, Brad Richardson, who still plays in Arizona, him, and Jared Stoll lived together in LA, and he's a huge Seinfeld, Curb fan. So Jared put me and Richie with Larry David at the rehearsal dinner and at the wedding dinner. So we were around him for
Oh my God.
two straight days. And he is just like you see on TV. Everything he writes down, he's always on. Everything's an idea for a show.
Did you feel like you were being watched the whole time?
I mean, he was definitely judging us, but we were giving it back to him pretty good too. So he had a good time. He even like there was a little buffet line the first night of everyone's kind of going up and picking up what they wanted to eat, and he was probably like 13th in line, and someone from the front, like one of the family members, came back and was like, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" And he's like, "Well, what's in it for me? I'm 13th in line. You're second. Like, I'll trade places with you." And then like he kind of worked out, and the person thought they were like laughing or kind of good joke, and he did it. He took a picture and he went second in line. Like, and he came back to the table. He's like, "I'm writing that down. I'm writing all these stuff down. It's going to be on an episode soon."
Dude, that's crazy. I think he did have an episode where there was something happened at a buffet, but I think maybe somebody cut in line. I don't know if anybody was trying to take a picture.
Okay, yeah, maybe there's some idea too. And also on the new season at Curb, in the 10th season, then when he was coming back, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's Okay, when he's coming back.
Do you see the sign behind me? Pretty good.
Okay, yeah, I do. So when they're coming back from the wedding in Mexico, and he brought the coffee beans, and there was overweight. It was overweight. That happened at Jared's wedding also, when he took a private plane out there, but people were going back to LA, so he asked a few people to come, and whatever reason, something was overweight. So I don't know if he waited for another one or something, but that was kind of the premise and the whole idea behind it too. So his mind is always going, and he's brilliant for a reason, I guess.
Geez, Teddy, screw hockey, man. Let's just talk about your experience with Larry David, man. I could talk to you about that forever. Let me ask you, Teddy, this is going to be a tough question for you to answer, I hope. Why is it that you were so well liked by all of your teammates? What is it about you that you could kind of gel with any team, any line, any players that you're with?
Well, I think off the ice, that's pretty easy. That comes second nature just from being from Newfoundland. There's not a lot to do there growing up, and the weather was so bad. So everyone is just extra friendly. Everyone survives by, dinner parties or being social and being polite. And, you can ask a lot of people that there's not many newfies that they've met that aren't good people. So that's just, I got lucky with that part. And just coming into the league with, I was in LA and there's a lot of good guys here, but then you go to Tampa and you see how Vinny and Marty carry themselves, and Bugsy. So it was a privilege for me to play with those guys. So when I was younger, I didn't really spoke until I was spoken to, and just kind of stayed in my lane. And then my personality came out, and I like to have a good time. I like to joke around. And the hockey side, you can kind of relate to that too with being there. Like, you play with Sam or Marty or Vinny or Bugsy. It was crazy, the talent that we had. So it was kind of easy for me just to slide in. I'd hide in the weeds a little bit, and some of the guys would joke around. They call me complimentary Eddie. So I just kind of help out, keep plays alive, and that was it.
Hey, listen, all those goals count too. So what do you credit your success to when you got here in Tampa Bay? Because Wikipedia credits Guy Boucher. So I wanted to ask you, who do you credit?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I got traded from LA to Tampa, and I wasn't an everyday player in LA. I did really good in the minors, and the coach here didn't like me. I just couldn't fit in. But yeah, Guy for sure gave me a chance and gave me some good minutes. Obviously Stevie for believing in me and giving me some confidence with the contracts. And then I think it goes back to the guys. I had great lines, whoever I play with. I remember my first year, I think it was me, Dominic Moore, and Steve Downey on the third line to start the year. And, Guy played us good minutes, and I was on second power play. And if someone got hurt, I'd kind of bounce back and forth. And it just kind of worked. And I think part of that, or a lot of it, is confidence. You know what you can do, but if you're not getting the minutes and you're not comfortable in yourself, you're kind of hard on yourself, and then you think too much. And then when I started to see some results, I just went out and played, and relied on my instincts. And I got lucky. It all worked out.
Now, I saw during quarantine, you were doing your girlfriend. She's your girlfriend. She's a volleyball player, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so you taped like an X to your chest, and you guys went out in like an alley, and she was hitting the volleyball off your chest.
Yeah, so we were like mocking one of her friends. She did like this when it was quarantine. You obviously can't do anything, so her friend put like a board down and was hitting the volleyball off the board, bouncing it back to herself. And the girls, the tape. It's called KT tape, and it's my girlfriend and her partner are sponsored by them, so they wanted to do some content. And I was like, you volleyball people are so boring. Like, get a little personality here. So I was like, I can be your backboard. So I taped up my chest and put the hockey helmet on, and she was laughing. She couldn't even control herself. She was laughing so much. The one time she got me right in the Adam's apple too.
Dude, first of all, you did an incredible job, and I feel like that should be more. I don't know how viral that went. I just saw it on her Instagram, but that should be all over the place. That was incredible, dude.
Yeah, I think it went viral on some volleyball websites, and they used it in commercials and stuff for the KT tape. But I thought it was a pretty good idea too. I wanted a little more credit, but whatever.
Now, Teddy, when did you and Bugsy strike up, such a friendship? It just seemed like I said earlier, you guys were always around town. Were you guys like really best friends? It seemed that way.
Yeah, for sure. We had a really good group. There's 6 or 7 of us that kind of hung out all the time. I think you just saw us at the optimal times when we were having a little too much fun. But coming to Tampa, I heard a lot of stories throughout the league. Players talk, and who's a good guy or kind of guys what kind of reputations they have. And I came in and he welcomed me right away, and he was very nice to all the young guys. A lot of times older guys, when they're married and have kids, it's hard to kind of balance both. But Bugsy did a really good job of including us in everything he did. And I mean, you got to meet him. Just looking at the guy, you just smile. He's tall. He had that long hair. He's got the tattoos and that stupid, shitty little grin. You can't not smile at the guy. He's just got one of those infectious personalities that draws people to him. And
he's naturally cool. Like, I always felt he's cool. Yeah.
He's a man. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to try. So, exactly. I want to know, what was your relationship? You mentioned Steve Yzerman. What was your relationship like with him? Because obviously, he was a big believer in you. Was it just like, hey, come in here and sign this contract? Were there any talks? Did he ever talk to you about your game, or just a simple general manager kind of relationship?
No, he was really cool, and he was obviously intimidating when he first got there because how big of a legend he was, and this and that, but. So I was a little nervous at the start, but he was cool. He was, sometimes after a game, I told this story on some podcasts and in a book, a guy, James Duthie's writing up in Canada. He, I remember we were in Boston. We lost 8-1, and my agent lives in Boston, so he was waiting for us after the bus. Me and him were talking, and I was kind of the last guy on. And obviously, after an 8-1 loss, it's pretty quiet and a bad atmosphere on the bus. So you're trying to tiptoe through to the back. And I get on the bus and Stevie's like, hey, oh my gosh, shit. So in my head, I'm like, I think I had an assist. I didn't play that bad. Like, what can you tell me? And then he goes, besides the fact we lost 8-1, that's the worst shirt and tie combo I've ever seen. Never wear it again. So I start giggling like, and I go back to the bus, and the guy's like, what did he say? What did he say? Just little stuff like that of just how cool he is, And I always used to give him shit about his suit sometimes. If he was he is a sharp dressed guy. But sometimes if he had something a little off, I was like, ooh, what happened today? And he's like, the wife forgot to pick up the laundry or the dry cleaning, so I had to go with my B suit. Just little smart or like snarky comments like that. We had a pretty good banter, which was pretty cool.
Teddy, when did you start thinking about life after hockey?
I mean, probably when you're young in the league, you don't even think about it because you're just trying to think about the next game or stay in the lineup or whatever. But, then you get towards the end of your career and you talk to some of the older guys and, you're not going to concerts every night. You're not out going to the rack, chasing girls every night either. You start to think about, you start to go back to the real world. And I honestly didn't really know what I was going to do. I knew I had a pretty good network and a lot of friends in hockey, and that is all I know really. I'm not smart enough or dedicated enough to go back to school, and I have no shame in admitting that. So then I was out here in LA, and the Kings asked me to do some TV stuff, and Adam Oates asked me to help work with him. So a couple of things just really landed in my lap. So I got pretty fortunate there, and that I don't have to rush into something that I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy or I'm not going to be good at, or with a lot of pressure or crazy bosses, because I've never really had that before. So it's been a good balance so far.
Dude, those Teddy Talks that you did with the Kings were absolutely phenomenal, man. You did a great job, which I watched Jeff Carter and I think Trevor. Like, those were really, really good, man.
Yeah, they were fun. I'm a little pissed at some of them. They took out some of my good jokes, but at the end of the day, it's not my show. It's about to see the boys, so I get it. But yeah, that just came along where, the Kings have a lot of guys that they're not shy if you get to know them, but they're just really laid back, and I think they just wanted to see the guys in a different light. And if some reporter comes in your house that you don't really know, you're not going to really bring out the guy's personality. So they kind of asked me to do that side of it, and yeah, the feedback was pretty good. So I mean, who knows if it's ever going to come back with the way stuff is going now? But it was fun to get in front of the camera and just kind of roll with it.
You mentioned it. What is it about hockey, guys? They're different from any other sport. Like you said, it takes Dan Girardi started this podcast earlier with me in the season. So, he had that rapport with certain players and got them to open up a little bit. So, but, for some of the guys I've interviewed, like the younger guys, they don't open up. And then you talk to some of the older guys and they'll sit there and they'll talk to you for an hour and a half and give you stories all day long. What is it about the hockey guy that makes him different when you interview him from any other athlete?
I mean, I don't know. You can kind of go a lot of ways. Well, I think most of the younger guys now, they're all dorks. They just play video games, and it's just how they grew up. You go to a bar and they see a good-looking girl. They don't know how to talk to her because they're not like writing her online. And they're way too good at video games. You shouldn't be good at video games if you play in the NHL. It's a privilege. You shouldn't do that when you're done. Get out and enjoy life.
I like that. Well said.
But I don't know. Then some other guys, basketball and baseball guys, I think they're just they market themselves a lot better. And for whatever reason, hockey guys, I don't know if it's how we grew up or where we're from, but they just seem more reserved. And I don't know if it's a shy thing that they don't want to put themselves out there, or it looks cocky. That's a good question. I don't really know how to answer that one, to be honest.
No, it's all good. I just heard you touch on it, and I was curious because I've done 40 some of these interviews this year, and I've just experienced some guys you can't really get them to crack. Some guys you can tell they're just a little bit more guarded than others, and then some guys just come on here and they just let it rip. So, but I enjoy all of it, and like I said, it's just they're just a different breed from the other type of athletes out there. I don't know if you can see this other picture behind me of Taylor Swift. I know you were at a Taylor Swift concert with your sister. It thoroughly looked like you enjoyed that. Did you get a chance to meet her at all, or you just went to the concert?
I didn't get a chance to meet her. I always tell my girlfriend that's my hall pass, T Swift, and everyone makes fun of me. They're like, she's not hot enough. I'm like, dude, she's the most talented ever. Give me a break.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
So this right there says, Seth, you look cool. So I met Taylor Swift 2 times. The first time she just told me for some reason, she just comes out, and the way she does her meet and greets, she's not at a table or anything like that. Mm-hmm. She just comes up to you. You're just standing around. She comes up to you and she goes, you look cool. And look, you can see me, Teddy. I am not a cool guy at all. So I was like, oh my God. And this is in front of my wife. So I was like, oh my God, I look cool. I said, no one's going to believe me that you said that. She goes, okay, so I'm going to write it down. So boom, what happens 2 years later? She comes back into town. I told my wife, I was like, hey, listen, remind Taylor that she told me that I look cool. So she knows, so I can kind of have an in again. And then we met Taylor, and then Taylor Swift gave me another autograph. We took another picture. And this time she goes, you look so cool. So she took it to the next level with so I got to say, dude, if you met her, you would fall in love with her. There is just something about her. She's a superstar.
Yeah, she is unbelievable. Just how talented she is too. And also how much money she makes is awesome too, but just her voice and how much she gives back to people and using her platform so good. She's just an all around. She's checks all the boxes for me.
Yeah, but me too. So let's fight over her. You'll probably win. So who else were you able to meet, man? Like, I know that you're a big time. Your dog's name is Vedder. I know that you're a big time, rock fan, obviously. Anybody else you've been able to meet along the way that you've been a huge fan of?
Yeah, Eddie Vedder is probably the coolest one. I've got to meet him 3 or 4 times. And one time I had like 12 beers with him after a show probably. Jeez. And I had a game the next day in Florida, and I scored the first shift like a minute in. It was unbelievable. I skated back to bench, and the guys were like chanting Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. Yeah, it was cool. And I didn't have my teeth in that night. So we go, you go in his dressing room after the game. I was playing in Florida at the time, and we were already in the playoffs. There was like 2 or 3 games left, so it didn't mean anything. We clinched first in the division. So we go back, and I'm with Sean Thornton, and Eddie's kind of the same way. He doesn't do a meet and greet. He just has everyone in his room. So if you're waiting in line, like, you could be out there for a half hour, you could be out there for 5 minutes, whatever it is. He likes intimate settings, getting talking and whatever. So we go in, and he gives me Corona, and I am so nervous, and I didn't know what to say. So I drink it in 10 seconds. He's like, Jesus, thirsty? And I'm like, oh God. And I was like, no, thanks for the time, man. He's like, boom, cracks open another one. So we keep talking now, like 6, 7 beers deep. He goes, can I ask you a weird question? I'm like, sure. He goes, can I put my cigarette in your tooth hole? And I'm allergic to cigarettes. Like, it makes me sneeze all the time.
Yeah.
And I've never smoked. But in my head, I'm like, dude, you can put whatever you want in there. So he takes it now, and he takes his cigarette and puts it in my tooth hole, and I'm like sucking it, and I'm like coughing. And then I'm like, dude, can I ask you a weird question? He goes, yeah, sure. I'm like, can I get a picture of you putting your cigarette in my tooth hole? So I wish I had it here. I just moved into my house. But I got them like blown up, like 2 pictures. I'll show it to you the next time, or when I get it. Yeah, it's like the coolest picture ever.
Dude,
and then after 12 beers, I told him, I was like, I named my dog Vedder. Like, oh shit. I was like, should I said that? Is that too nerdy? And he was like, then he went on this big speech of how grateful he was and how much I had an impact on him. And I was like, geez, that's just, you're the man, Eddie.
Wait, you had the impact on him, or he had the impact on you?
Yeah, he had the impact for me to like name my dog after him. He's like, I'm so grateful. He's just like the nicest guy ever. Even if he was lying, he didn't even have to say it. I was like, yeah.
What's the deal with him? Does he like hockey guys? Was it you?
Yeah,
I know he's a big Chelios fan.
Yeah, so he's a big Chelios fan, and the guy I was with, Sean Thornton, he met him before too, and he knew his manager, and they got us tickets, and we were kind of waiting around for like an hour. I'm like, man, we got a game the next day, and it was just after the show, and our buzz was wearing off a little bit, and then Sean was like, I'm just gonna go I'm like, just go thank the manager. So we're like, hey, we got to take off. We had a game today. And he was like, hold on a sec. Eddie wants to talk to you guys. So we skipped another 20 people in line, and we stayed in there. I got home at like 2:30, so all the other people didn't even see him. But yeah, he knows Chelios well. He's a big baseball fan. And that was the second or third time I met him, and he was like, oh yeah, you were with Chelly the one time. Like, he was in a ukulele set Into the Wild at the what's that place in Clearwater?
Oh, Ruth Eckerd Hall.
Exactly. So That's the first time we hung out. And then that was actually the same weekend as the Bush concert, that outdoor festival. So that was the first time we met him. And then this other time in Florida too, he's like, oh yeah, I remember that night in Florida. It's crazy that for all the people he meets, it's like Taylor Swift. I mean, they meet more people than anybody. Just to have the mind to remember people like that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it means a lot. It really does. Like when they do that. So I mean, there's nothing tops Eddie Vedder then, as far as anybody you've met.
No, I mean, Larry David was pretty cool too, but Eddie was like, I mean, my dog's name is Vedder. They're my favorite band, so that was number one for me. And just, it wasn't like, a 2-second high buy. It was like we had 12 beers, so it's a night of hanging out.
Dude, that's incredible. Teddy, I really appreciate your time, and I've enjoyed this conversation. I got to ask you one hockey question before we get out of here. What do you think about the Bolts? By the time this comes out, I think it'll be the day of Game 3. Tell me if you think that they're going to be able to, pull this one out against the Bruins. A little shorthanded without Steven Stamkos.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad for Stammer, and me and him are still super tight and talk to him a bunch. And it's just he's getting bad luck with all these random little injuries. I hope he does come back. But I'm actually, my TVs, I had just moved in, so my TVs aren't even set up yet, so I haven't actually watched the game. But, I think it could go either way. I saw last night they started slow. It was just from what I was reading on Twitter, and they kind of stormed back late but couldn't get it done. They've got an experience, and I think they're a little bit deeper now and have some different DNA in their team that they added some different pieces. And I think it's a coin flip either way. Boston are obviously a powerhouse, and they're consistent. And but I'd like to see the boys go a little deeper. So just hopefully Stammer can come back. I talked to Killorn a lot, and Hetty obviously, and obviously even guys like Yzerman and Bellick and Wicked and all the trainers. So I'm still tight with a lot of those guys. So I'd love to see those guys go for another run and hopefully get it done.
Who was the best player that you played with in Tampa?
Oh boy, hopefully Marty or Stammer aren't watching this.
Yeah, or Vinny, or
I
Hetty.
know, yeah, I know, you're right.
You played with some great players.
I did. I got really lucky there. I can't single one. Maybe Stammer, just because I think the year I had the most assists, I just gave him shitty passes and he put them in, so he got me more money, I guess, when I say Stammer.
See, there you go. You're able to break that down and give me a good answer. Listen, Teddy, I really appreciate it, man. I'm glad you're doing well. I thoroughly enjoy the content you put out. Keep doing it, whether you're doing a podcast, video stuff. You got a great personality, dude. We enjoyed you in Tampa, and I'm glad you're kicking ass out there in LA.
Thanks, Seth. I appreciate it, man. Hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Take it easy, Teddy.
Okay, see you, man.
See you, dude.